Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Blokes podcast. Ryan, the shenanigan Hassan here, joined as always by Nick, the Sultan of Steel, the Miracle of McRae, the mother of mindfulness, Sutherland. Nick, how are you today, mate?
Feeling quite feminine after that.
Mother of mindfulness.
That was beautiful. Uh, I had a client the other day commenting, guys, I just pissing themselves when they heard the Miracle of McRae first time. I thought that was some of your best work.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought I've
So
done
that's
some
it.
better things on the podcast, but look, if
I said
whatever
his
resonates with
range of
someone,
work isn't that vast. So it's
I think you'd
not
be
a
surprised how many people find me very entertaining and funny on this show.
Brian.
My mum,
Yeah, me. I
that's
find you
about
funny
it.
and
That's
entertaining.
about it.
I'm there for you, buddy. How
And
are
your
you?
client now, that's four. I'm good. I'm good. I'm feeling really good today, but we've had a lot of um, flus and colds and that kind of thing go through us this winter. So Tommy's bloody cooking home again from school today. So um, all the kids at school just keep bloody sharing it with each other and then bring it home and all that. But
Maybe you
uh,
should have got vaccinated.
I actually, yeah, yeah, I'm sure that's it. But Melissa had a moment actually the other week because we just got over something and then Tommy came home with something else and Mel went to get sick. She's not, shout out to you, babe, but
Yeah.
she's not a very good patient. Um, when she's ill. And she had a moment, she's like, you know what? I'm fucking taking us to get vaccinated. I'm sick of this shit. And then I pissed myself and well, I never thought I would hear those words. She changed her tune the day after when she felt better. But it's funny what being crook for a little while, how it can sort of change our system of beliefs and our thinking.
Totally. Yeah.
But I feel
How's been?
great.
You're
I'm
working
feeling
hard.
I'm in fine feta today. I feel really good.
Great.
I'm sort of ready
We've
to
had a
rock and
putting
roll.
lesson.
I had a
So
putting lesson yesterday, which there's plenty to work on. So I'm excited about that. But,
yeah,
just excited about various things, really.
you're looking fine. The hair's sort of coiffed
Yeah.
nicely. The beard's looking sharp. It's all happening for you.
It's all happening for me, really. I don't
You
I
get a
don't know
bit of
where
a you get a bit of a Jason Priestley look about you
I
today.
don't know where to go from here, to be honest. All downhill, I guess.
Yeah,
Jason Priestley from like 90210 days back in
totally.
the
Yeah.
90s. I
Uh-huh.
had,
Uh-huh.
you're just bringing back my memory here. I had such a big crush on Jenny Garth in that show. I can't remember what her
Oh,
name was
wow.
on the actual show. I'd have to look it up, but Jenny Garth,
Right.
big crush on her and Alyssa Milano when I was
Oh,
a
listen,
young
Milano.
man coming into my hormones and my teenage years. Alyssa Milano,
And
and
your sock.
she was on. I never used a sock. This is a great way to start our mental health podcast, talking about masturbating into a sock. But I play golf with the dude who I know quite well now at our club, and he's got a 14-year-old son. And first time I played with him, he brought it up about his son bloody using a sock and finding it in his room all hard and crusty. I'm like, what? Just because it's the shape of your dick, sort of. Like, it seems like a very impractical thing to use, like to wash out the inside of your sock. Where was I going with Alyssa Milano? Right, I'm gonna find a sock in a minute if I keep talking about her. What was the show that Melrose Place? So I'm a young 14, 15-year-old boy, and normally in bed, school the next day, but I'd stay up a bit later, and then Melrose Place had come on about 10:30 or so, and a young Melissa Milano in that. Oh, by
But
gee
then she
willikers.
moved into that other show, and I can't remember the other girl's name, but the witches. There
The
was the three
Charmed.
witches. Charmed the pants right off me. It was it was dangerous times to be a teenage boy.
It was very dangerous times, although probably not as dangerous now, having access to in these teenagers' pockets, any
Can
type
you
of
imagine?
pornography
Can
they
you
want.
imagine teenage hormones rampant Ryan Hassan with access to the internet at that age?
Oh,
Like,
no, I don't want to.
I'm so glad we
I think it's a
didn't.
terrible idea. I remember I
Yes.
found my brother he's 14 years older than me. And so had moved out of home. And it was the first porno that I ever found, right? Because he moved out, and for some reason, I was desperate. I wanted to move out of my room into his, even though they were just mirror images of each other in the exact same room. That must have been me, like, oh, I'm the big kid in the house now. And so I moved into the room, and I've been in there for a while. And then for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I got up and was looking in the top shelf of the wardrobe right at the back. And I'm like, hang on, what the bloody hell's this? And there was a videotape, like a VHS. It was called Good Morning Tasia Ray, and it was a porno. And I remember um, putting it in the VHS thing, and I was just losing my fucking mind. I got the boys from down the road down to watch it. We were freaking out. This was probably like pre-pubescent kind of time, so it
How
was
do you
all
spell
just super
Tasia?
fun.
How do you spell Tasia?
Oh, you won't be able to find it, mate. I've trust me, I've looked for it over the years to try and rekindle it.
Good morning,
Tasia was
Tasia
like a
Ray.
TA, like apostrophe J something, and RAE, I think, for the last name. But this is, mate, we're talking over 25 years ago now. So hey, Nick trying to find it on his phone here. And so
Yeah.
I remember that. And then I remember being so worried about my mum and dad finding it that I had it, that I buried it in our backyard. And then,
How do you
and then
bury a why do you bury a
like I dug a
VHS? What's like?
hole. I didn't want them to find it. So I dug a hole and I buried it. And
Oh
then after,
my.
well, did you find it?
Yeah. Is it a bit of Good Morning Vietnam about it?
So I can't, a bit blurry. I can't quite. Could go
Uh,
back a bit. So oh, there. Oh no, put it. I'm having some flashbacks. Put it away. Put it away, man.
we're gonna have to put oh my, don't scroll down. That's that escalated. We're gonna have to put a disclaimer on this episode, I think.
We're gonna need a disclaimer. I'll have to do or record one of those intros. Oh, if you are under the age of 16 years old, please don't tune into Woke Blokes today.
Or
Or if you do, have a sock
if you
handy.
are 16, make sure you got pen and paper handy and a sock.
And so after a few times burying it, I went to dig it up, and she stopped working because of all the dirt and shit that was getting on the tape.
Funny that. Oh, what's we're on topic, so I may as well fucking stay here, I guess. I've got a list of
God,
things to talk about, but none are as interesting
it's
as this.
the gutter episode. This is.
Um, porn addiction. You work with addictions. Have you ever worked with porn addiction?
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Porn addiction, sex addiction, oftentimes they go hand in hand, although they can be
Mhm.
separate. But yeah, absolutely. It's like uh, it can become a crux. It's also, you spoke about kids having the access to all this stuff at a young, like in their formative years. It's so dangerous because it gives a very distorted idea of what sex is.
Yeah.
So and I know that for me growing up and for a lot of people, remember the talk with mum and dad, and either the talk doesn't happen or the talk's not great. It's not a very, open and actual, discussion. It's one that parents want to get over and done with and not have to deal with it. And so we don't have a blueprint for sex and sexual intercourse. And so we pick up our blueprint from this fabricated world of pornography. And, oftentimes
That
that's
becomes our model, really, doesn't it?
it does. It becomes the model of that, and it's not a great model to have. And so that's, I guess, our early imprinting and the damage that can happen there. But yeah, I've seen many men have issues where they keep needing to go back to it. It's a release for them. It's an escape. I've know people that I'm talking like, 10 plus times a day doing
Oh,
this. So yeah, like, having
wow.
to
What's that?
being
What's that giving them? Like, is it so there can be contributing factors as far as I understand. Early trauma can lead to sex habits and early experience of it, or finding your brother's porn tape when you're too young or whatever. But what sort of what are they getting out of it? Watching it 10 times a day, what's it doing for them?
Well, there's, I guess, the act or the ritual of finding and watching something, and then there's the experience of ejaculation as well, which is a high. And so it has, like, I guess, the components of a drug when you think about it. There's
Mm.
the
Bit
ritual of getting the
dirty, bit
drug, using the
sneaky.
drug. There's the actual high of experiencing that drug at the time, and all of this just plays into what helps me best escape the feelings that I'm in right now. And so
Mm.
anytime that someone might feel anxious or depressed or bored or under stress or whatever it is, their brain goes, how do I best even if it's temporarily, how do I best just escape for this or give myself a breather or some sort of relief? And then for some people, it's alcohol. For some people, it's drugs. Some people, it's using other people. For some people, it's going to the gym or food or gambling. For some people, it's watching pornography and masturbating.
And porn's been around since, the very early days. Go back to the ancient Greeks and even beyond that. So porn's not a new thing, but it's just the accessibility to it now, I suppose, has really changed.
Yeah, yeah. And, I read a while ago um, some of the data, because obviously you can look at uh, on a macro scale all of the millions, well probably billions of searches a day all around the world on pornography. Like what are the trends? Like what are people looking
Oh
towards? And
no, oh no,
it becomes more and more has to be more risque or more taboo,
more debauchery.
because it's like a drug again. And it's we use that similar analogy. We build up a tolerance to that
Mm.
drug, whereas like half a gram was
Missionary is no longer getting you off. It's got to be.
yeah. So this is about probably over 5 years ago, maybe somewhere between 5 and 10. But the main searches were now around this, stepmom, mum, like slightly like kind of barely
What's that
legal.
about? What's
Yeah,
that?
well, it's yeah, I have to have something
My
more taboo.
stepsister, the stepsister
Yes,
stuff,
so
like
all of that kind of stuff. So it's you can see how, and this goes back. You spoke about was it the ancient Greeks or Romans?
yeah.
Um, and this is where it can get very dangerous because the ancient Romans, I believe, they had the higher class had all of the opulence, all of the wealth. They basically had all of the options. There's nothing they really couldn't do. And so what would they do all day? Well, they would drink, they would use drugs, and they would bring in women and have sex with them. But having sex with one woman wasn't enough, so now I have to sex with two, three, four, five. Now I have to engage in really strange acts, urinating, defecating on women, and eventually it gets to the point where they start like hurting and sacrificing women. It's like you can't keep pushing that pleasure button all the time without there being consequences, because it gets harder and harder to push that button and you have to engage in more and more dangerous behavior to get there. And it's like chasing a rainbow. You'll never get to where you're trying to get because you're chasing the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I've just my search history is going to be well out of whack after
Your
today. I hope
algorithm's
no one
going to be
finds
all
this
over the
phone.
shop.
Yeah, I know. Um,
I'd reset your cookies after this
it'd be like
episode.
Buddha and masturbating and just start trying to combine it. I'll be like, no, that's not how we got enlightened.
You never know.
Um, so the top categories viewed by men and women. What do you reckon the top category for women was?
When I did some research on this a while ago, yeah, women tend to be into they would love a story more than men. Oftentimes, it's that kind of 50 Shades of Grey archetype of like the very powerful, successful man who's can have anything he wants, but he chooses a woman who is unassuming and maybe the world can't see her value, but this man can. And she also believes that she can change him, and they get into sexual relations.
Hmm. So lesbian is the top one for females.
Mhm. There you go.
What do you think that would be? A lot of straight
Um,
women would watch lesbian porn.
yeah. I wonder what percentage of males or females are bisexual. Do you reckon the percentage of females that are bisexual is much higher than the percentage of men that's bisexual?
Uh, it would be just be pure conjecture, but I wouldn't be alarmed if it
You don't want to
was.
stuff up your algorithm anymore. I feel like just in my experience, women are a lot more open to
They're more
homosexual
fluid. They're more
relation.
fluid, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it could also be because there's not, um, they're not really in their fantasies attracted to the male sort of huffing and puffing and breathing on them. I think it's probably more nice to see two women than some
Yeah.
slobby, slothy
They
dude
do have a
dancing
nicer
around.
form. Women's form's
Yeah,
built for beauty.
totally.
Men's is more for utility, carrying heavy stuff, getting around.
There you go. So for women, it was lesbian and then gay male. Wow, that's a real flip. That's one end of the spectrum to
Yeah,
the other.
really going from one end to the other there. Okay.
But it's still interestingly, it's still two men or two women. It's still not a man and a woman. And then they go to teen, and then they go for women, ebony, MILF. I'm not going to go through the rest, but you get the wow. Wow, okay. And for men, it's teen. Isn't that interesting?
Mm.
Men are looking for younger, and you think about it. And I lived in Thailand, so I've viewed there's a lot of older men with younger women. It's is it that trying to keep the fountain of youth sort of thing going?
What, possibly?
Um, but then they go to MILF, so they go from teen to MILF, and then mature, and then ebony, and then she goes a bit sideways. So
Goes a bit
uh,
sideways from there.
well, our viewers don't need to, our viewers and listeners don't need to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, we're sorry about today's topic as well. If any of you are put off, like you can turn off and just tune in next week. Like, it's good to talk about these things.
Well, it's bringing it out in the open because I think it's a big part of the underbelly of society. It's sort of like what people go and do in the privacy of their own homes and whatever. But then it starts to and it's generally contained. Like I don't think everyone jumping on the porn websites is has a has an addiction or anything, but it can move from the bedroom and then going to sex clubs and then sort of, as you said, it just escalates from there. And then if you pick up a woman to come home and you're trying to do different shit to her and she's not into it, or vice versa, he's not into it. Yeah, it's so I think it's
Yeah, and I
important
think
to talk
it
about.
is important because it's such a, it just sex is such a taboo topic. And I think religion has a lot to answer for, when it comes to this. And because you said the word underbelly.
And a lot of other things.
And a lot of other things, and that's part of it though. You said underbelly, and it's like anything we have a natural human desire to sexually express, and when that is then a taboo and not be able to be spoke about, needs can't be expressed, all of that, then that always creates an underbelly. Whatever's suppressed collectively, there has to be an expression
Anything you're
somewhere.
told you're not allowed to do, you start going, "Oh, I want to do that now."
Yeah, yeah, that's right, that leads
If
on
it's off
to.
limits.
Yes. You spoke about, like I spoke about, as the porn addiction, but also, sex addiction, and that one is rife. And what I've seen with clients with that is it's normally one of two things or both at the same time. Is that we feel so lost, or someone feels so lost and abandoned and alone, that the only way they feel connection is during sexual intercourse.
Mm.
And this is from a male point of view. I'll get to a female one in a second because they can be a little bit different. Or we're using it once again like a drug, where we're using another person to try and feel something different. And that's, a lot of people won't justify it as that, but we're really using someone else just to try and meet our own ends and our own needs.
And it's trying to fill that void, I suppose, inside, isn't it? There's that
100%.
lo loneliness, there's that deficiency, there's that, and there could be a lot of contributing factors from that. It can be, as I said earlier, trauma in childhood, or just the nature of someone, or their beliefs, or whatever's going on for them. So, what would a person do if someone's listening to this and it starts resonating a little bit, that they may um, be out of balance with watching porn, or I mean, how much is, if a couple are having sex 4 times a week, is that a sex addiction? Are they addicted to sex?
Well, probably not, but it's our relationship to it. It's like our relationship to, if someone's watching porn or drinking alcohol or engaging in some sort of behavior, like it's
They're
inquiring
codependent
into
on
our
it.
relationship. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, if someone is going, okay, if I sit here and I'm with it, it's like, could I not watch porn for a month or a week or 2 weeks? Like, run the
Or
experiment.
is my is the categories I'm exploring, is that sort of getting darker and darker? Did I
That's
start
right.
off at missionary and am I now at frogs or
Midget,
something?
porn, that kind of frogs.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you want to know why you do something, don't do it and watch what happens. It's one of my favorite quotes. It's
Mm.
like, if you think like do I have a dysfunctional relationship with this, or is it still within
Did
the
you say
healthy range?
dysfunctional?
No, I didn't, but that might have been some sort of Freudian
It
slip. Did
sounded
I
like you
really?
said dysfunctional.
If you think your dick's still functional,
Oh, that's Freudian slip, ladies and
oh,
gentlemen.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
That's
Um,
beautiful.
if you are like, do I have a dysfunctional relationship with this or not? And you're kind of like, I don't know, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Then run the experiment and don't do it. Don't engage in it.
Put it away for a week.
And then remain curious about your experience. Do you find
Notice,
yourself,
observe what comes up within you in
yeah,
time.
like, in those moments of boredom, do you naturally want to go grab for the phone or something and look up porn? And then you're like, no, no, I can do it. It's nothing that wrong with it. It's like, no, no, I set myself a goal of not doing this for a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is. Now I'm in this disturbance where I feel like I should do it. Maybe there is something here worth exploring. Maybe I do have a bit of a dependence or a reliance on this.
Well, something with addiction is there's no boundaries. So if you don't want to go from one extreme to the other, just go sort of halfway and set some boundaries, right? I'm not going to get on my phone until after lunch. I'm not going to check social media until after lunch, or I'm not going to have a coffee until after lunch, or that delayed.
Mm.
Because if you keep acting on those impulsive desires, you know, and there's an explosion in your brain and it's going, hey, do this, we need this. Hey, I haven't had this for a while. Go and get me some of this. And if you keep acting on that, that's where the escalation happens as far as I'm understanding of it. So if you observe that impulsive thought come up and then you just go, oh yeah, I know what you are. And if I follow that command, then I'm not actually in charge. I'm not actually in control. So I'm just going to sit there and see that for what it is and make an empowered decision just to go and have a glass of water or go for a walk around the block or something. That impulsive thought is going to die down and run off into the distance. So then, that's changing that relationship with it, really.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. There's a fancy term for that these days. It's called a dopamine detox.
Oh,
Yeah. So
I'll
what we're
tell you
doing,
what, if I hear the word fucking trauma again or ADHD, everything is trauma this and trauma that, and there's an ad cut popping up on social media, and it's if you're something, it's like if you're grumpy, that means it's unresolved trauma. And I was just like, stop trying to convince everyone that they've had trauma. Everyone's had challenges in early life. Just stop dramatizing it.
yeah, look, I was chatting yesterday. I was on a podcast with the Men's Health Forum, I think it was. And because they'd done one of our courses, because like what we mainly teach is stuff about trauma. And I remember I said to them at the start, I'm like, the last like 2 or 3 years, I'm getting a little bit miffed of all of the trauma talk. It's like it's great that people started talking about it for a while there, but now because it's become a kind of a buzz term and trendy, it is just coming up absolutely everywhere. And we had as well, because they were asking about like organizations and non-profit in the mental health field and about how they're being trauma informed. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not. They're trying to tick a box because it's a trendy thing at the minute. We had one of our students who went on to do a community service course and then was doing placement at this place, who were like advertising, yeah, we understand trauma informed. She goes, they're fucking not trauma informed at all. They're just trying to tick a box because everyone's talking about it at the minute. So it's the unfortunate byproduct of something becoming popular.
Yeah, and it's also, we've spoken about it previously, the pendulum, and it just goes from one end of the spectrum to the other. So there was no talk about it for years and years and just suppress it and just don't speak up at all. And now it's gone to the other end. So just gotta hide in my cave and wait patiently
Yeah,
for
you
it
need
to
to write it
sprout.
out till it comes back to the middle.
It's okay, I can do that.
Even though you've brought it up twice in this podcast so far.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
it's genuine. It's
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's
Um,
yeah,
no, I was just going to go back. If you finishing this thought,
yeah,
or I'm
yeah,
going back to
yeah. No,
dopamine
go back,
detox.
man.
Um, And so this is what Nick was talking about. It's like when we're at the whims of our urges, and an urge is like where the dopamine is a neurotransmitter in our brain, which is in charge of motivation. It's like there's a book called The Molecule of More, which is really good for people who want to know about that because dopamine just wants more, more, more of what
The
stimulates
molecule
it
of
in the
more
first
could be a
place.
podcast guest.
Yeah,
Welcome, it's like
it's a
the
great name, isn't
miracle of
it?
McRae.
The Miracle of McRae versus the Molecule of More cage match. Because you're quite opposite, the Sultan of Steel. He's like, no, I'm just calm over here, not giving in to
All
my
right.
urges, and the molecule of more is ready to fight. And so all of these urges is our dopamine. Like straight away, we wake up, it's like, quick, go on Instagram, see what's been going on, check this, check that, and then all day we're on that train. Like, I'm going to have a coffee now, and then I'm going to go and watch porn, have a wank, and then I'm going to do this and do that, and then we go to bed, and it's like, and then we wake up and it starts again. So the detox, or what Nick was about, was like, no, like let's in the morning, no phone or no certain apps and no this or that, no coffee, blah
No
blah. Just give you
stimulus. No,
give
no,
yeah,
no
give yourself a
stimulation.
chance. Give yourself a chance to and the thing is, for someone who's been on that roller coaster for a long time, it really feels like a detox because you're like, no, I'm not gonna have that coffee and take in that stimulation. I'm going to go for a walk instead. And early on, that whole walk, your brain will be going, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. Quick, go do something else, go do something else. And you have to step back, sit in that seat of self or seat of consciousness and go, no, I'm in charge here, not the urges and desires that are screaming.
Be the eye behind the eye and just watch what arises.
I
And
love
then,
how we can turn masturbating into a sock into real spiritual concepts. Isn't it
oh no, it's
amazing?
just divine. And if you're really struggling, just go and get a 44-gallon drum and just have a wank, shame wank. Like that's probably the healthiest. That's where I'd recommend you to
Well,
default.
the OG Woke Blokes listeners will get that. Everyone else will be like,
Yeah,
okay, this has gone too far.
this is turn the corner. All right, let's turn the corner. Let's shift out of that because a lot of parents these days are very concerned with their teenagers and the screen time and what do we do? And I did a presentation up in Swan Hill, and I turned the microscope or the spotlight back on the parents, and I said, well, are the kids being taught? Are they being trained? Are there being boundaries being set? Because you got to set boundaries for people who can't set boundaries for themselves. And I'm sure a shit a 14-year-old given access to the whole entire internet is not going to set any boundaries for themselves. So I guess it's where do you go to when you're talking about screen? Yes, we can educate kids around the effects screen time has on them, but are they autonomous enough? Do they have the emotional intelligence to self-regulate and okay, thank you for that information. I'm just going to put my device down for a while now. Or do we need the parents to be more involved?
Oh, God, we need the parents more involved. Our
Hmm.
prefrontal cortex isn't fully formed till we're 25. So we're talking to, a half developed being, at that point. And a lot of parents, what I've seen is at the minute they'll throw their hands up in the air and go, too hard. Society, everyone, all the kids have phones anyway. They're going to feel left out, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, they're at home scrolling on their fucking phones for like 4 hours at a time. So the kids have been growing up just watching their parents, mom, dad, yeah, hang on a minute. They've been watching that, for years. And then they're like, it's too hard. They won't get off their phone, these kids. It's just, I can't believe it. Your society these days, these kids, back when we were young, it's like, shut the fuck up.
It's
That's
Apple's
what,
fault, Steve Jobs' fault.
yeah, these big companies, fuck them. And they've been mining, cobalt over in the Congo, and it's so bad. It's like start in your own house, mate. Get your own shit in order. It's not easy, but yes, the parents need to be way more involved. We need to have.
They don't want to hear that. Like
Mhm.
the reception, the vibe of the reception I got at this presentation. There was a very polite sort of. It's
Mate,
like,
if you want to just touch on someone's, funny little spot, talk to them about parenting. People are so defensive and touchy about it. It's so hard to
but
bring up anything.
they outsource it so often. It's like they'll spend tens and thousands of dollars on getting their children fixed, but they and on band-aids and symptoms, but they don't spend the time and energy on the root cause of it.
Yes. So yeah, I've got a 5-year-old. I'm usually 6, and I'm just watching and navigating it as best I can. Parenting's messy and it's hard, and you don't always get it right. But at the end of the day, we have to start from the place of being the example for them, and we remember that we are their parent, and as much as we want to be best friends with them, we need to be their parent before we're their best friend. And that means setting boundaries, like you said, because a child inherently doesn't want boundaries and will test where the boundaries are constantly. And if we don't let them know where they are, then they're going to run free. Not in a good way,
Run
run free.
free, run free. I'm just going back into a message. Speaking of parenting, I sent you that photo of the little boy walking out the door with all of his toys waving
No, no,
goodbye,
don't. No,
and your
don't bring
response
this up. I was in a dark place.
your
Let's
response was,
show the picture. Show what was the photo that you sent.
so
So so it's for those listening, a little thing captured on Instagram. There's a kid, what's like one of his first days at school or something.
yeah,
He's
it's his
walking out
first
the
day of school.
door,
He's walking
and
out
the
the door.
parents have lined up all his figurines of the Hulk, Spider-Man, and they're like, wishing him goodbye out the door.
And there's a little chalkboard thing. Zach's first day of school, and the photo's taken from inside. The figurines are all facing away, waving at the boy who's walking away from the camera out the door. And I just thought, this is pretty funny. And I get back, heartbreaking. Leave the world of play to learn how to become an obedient worker in an inherently corrupt system. and then, and then within 10 seconds, sorry, got a bit dark there.
I had to
Great
get it out.
self-awareness.
I had to get no, because even as I was typing it, I'm like, I know that I'm, a bit dark, and I'm like, I'm going to get it out there anyway, because part of me believes that to be true,
Yeah,
but part of
of
me also goes,
course.
yeah, that's cool, that's beautiful. But I was,
Yeah.
I actually, I'm glad you brought that
So
up.
good. I loved it.
One thing that I'm watching, I'll just speak about my experience,
Yeah,
parenting,
please.
because with my past, my history, and the sort of the way that I've been as a human
Uh,
being.
being a hardened criminal.
Yeah, well, sort of. I kind of watch Tommy very curiously when he's engaging activities, and when he engages with technology, because I'm extremely compulsive, and I was as a kid, big time. Like, give
Mm.
me access to something and I'll do it until it breaks, essentially.
Mhm.
And it's been really interesting to watch Tommy, because I'm like, he's my son. I've got to check in there, and he is the least compulsive 5-year-old I've ever seen on the planet. And I can thank Melissa, I guess, but it's because
Well,
I'm wary, because even if I give him if he plays a game on the computer, or I sent you a video and you're like, I don't know about this. I bought him a VR headset because I promised it to him. And it's crazy, man. He'll use it like once a week, maybe for 10 to 15 minutes, and go, all right, I've had enough. That was fun. And I'm sitting there like, if I was that kid at that age, I wouldn't take that fucking thing off. And so I'm always watching for if he has a dysfunctional relationship with anything. Um, because I've seen, I'll be at someone's house and their kids have to be pulled away from the iPad to come and sit down and have dinner with all the friends. And you can see the
mm.
whole time they're there, they're not there. They're still just desperately trying to get away and play the game. And so that's what I watch out for when Tommy's engaging in anything. And I'm sure that will come at some point with something, and I'm here to deal with it when it does.
And he's all the better for having you in his life. We talk about doing the work and with clients to say, you got to realize what you're up against, though. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I just found a book I've been looking for. I'm so compulsive or impulsive.
Playboy magazine.
Um, the so we're up against DNA, and this is what you're talking about. What have I handed down to Tommy, and which fucked up parts of me are going to pop out soon in him. So we're up against our DNA or genetics. We're up against karma, if you want to buy into that, conditioning through childhood, nature, our own natures, ego. We're up against all of that, and doing the work. It's
Also the
It
collective, yeah.
really,
Like all the collective pressures, advertising,
yeah.
have this, do this.
Well, environment, yeah, environment.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really important to factor all of that and go, all right, the best I can do is sit in that space and observe and just be really curious about things. And when things pop up, then I'll be in a much better position to intervene or adjust or correct or do nothing. But you'll be in that responsive state where if you're not in that responsive state, you're either going to miss everything and not be in a position to adjust accordingly, or you'll have a tendency to overcorrect because you'll be reactive, and then you're just going to end up at the other end of the spectrum. So interesting as well, though, we've been talking with clients a lot lately about typically the son is the mother, and the daughter is very similar to the father.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
yeah, and I had a client yesterday, and she goes, "Oh my God," because we were talking about her daughter, um, and then her husband. She goes, "Yeah, they're similar." And I said that to her. She goes, "Oh, my 8-year-old, my son, when he was 8 in the car, just randomly came out of it from nowhere and said, 'Mum, um, my sister looks like you, but she's like Dad, and I look like Dad, but I'm like you.'" Like, and this 8-year-old picked up on that, and I was just like,
Yeah, I've seen that.
"Oh,
Now that you
amazing."
say that, yeah, that does seem to be a bit of a theme more often than not.
Yeah, so Tommy has hit the jackpot there, and he's really lucky's on
What,
his
with my
side.
looks
So
and Melissa's demeanor?
yes, yes, right, the best of both worlds.
Um, yeah, yeah, it's like I heard Singer once talk about this. He talked about the personal self. It's like as a parent, or we've always got our personal self involved in everything. So whenever something happens that's, let's say, emotionally disturbing, we're automatically just think about us. And it's like, the analogy of, the guy getting called up at work and his son who's in high school, like, oh, we're gonna have to get you to come in, sir. We've found some drugs in Jimmy's locker. And immediately that, oh, how can you do this to me? Oh, this is so embarrassing. Oh, and it's just all about you in that
That's the
moment. So,
ego taking it personally, and yeah,
and that's what
and
most
you
people
start
do, right?
looking at your kids through those distorted lenses, and you start demonizing your own child, going, "They're a bad, they're a terrible child. How they're in so much trouble when they get home." And
Yeah.
like, maybe they
I
need
don't
help.
deserve
Maybe
this.
they.
I gave them everything. Me, me, me.
I struggled with that with my mum. Shout out to mum, for a while, because um, her sister is quite a famous actress, my auntie, and so mum didn't. I don't know. I wasn't there, but from what I understand, that my auntie got a lot of the attention and mum didn't. And so what I've noticed is when I talk about my brothers or something, mum will go, "Oh, he got that from me," and it's just this default. "Oh, that's me." Em may say, "Oh, Nick doesn't like coriander." "Oh, neither do I." And it's
Yeah.
just interesting to sit back and observe that and go, "Wow, that's yeah, that just keeps happening."
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
bad. It doesn't make him a terrible person or anything. It's not. It's just the interesting how the ego is like, "Oh, but what about me as well?"
Yeah, yeah. It's like if we, I desperately wanted this bike when I was a kid, and I didn't get one, and my brother did, and then I grow up, and then decades later, someone's like, "Yeah, it's Billy's birthday next week. We're thinking of getting him a bike," and you're like, "You're getting his brother one too? Yeah, you can't just get him one, not the brother one. It's our own
I
like stuff."
I have that when people are born around Christmas time, and I
Oh,
go straight
yes.
to, "Oh, right, here's what to do and here's not
Yeah.
what not to do." Right, make sure they have their party in about November because all their friends are going to be away on holidays. Make sure
Yeah.
you don't give them their Christmas and birthday present in one. Make sure they're separate, and I just go to this full, and then I'm
It's like
hearing
this
myself.
empathy. Yeah, it's like this empathy of, this is how to not make them suffer because we perceive that we suffered because of something that happened.
Yeah, totally. I don't want them to experience what I experienced.
Yeah.
That's all ego
Don't you
coming
know how
through.
hard that's going to be for them?
Yeah. Em and I have had I guess we're on the ego train now. Em and I have had an interesting experience lately where we noticed sort of yesterday that our egos had been driving our relationship for a while, and it's just, it's like putting on weight. It just happens so incrementally. You can't really see it until you're in this real messy argument. You're like, the fuck? And then thankfully we worked our way out of it. Shout out to Myndfit. And we we sat there and then like the only thing that can ruin us and our
Shout
relationship.
out your own business.
Oh, M's done your course. Shout
You
out to
might you
Sutherland for
might as
Helm as
well have
well.
just shouted out shout out yourself. Yeah, I did the work. Shout out Nick Sutherland.
um,
Oh, sorry, I
but
couldn't
we
let that
came into
slide.
no, it was I put it out there for you to not let it slide. I'll set them up, you knock them down. So yeah, we came to this hilarious understanding that the only thing that can ruin our relationship is our egos. Like there is that much
Mm.
love there. There is that much
I felt
connection. There
that. I
is,
just felt that when you said that. Yeah. The only thing that can ruin this relationship is our egos. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
that's the only thing that can tear us apart.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah,
a,
I
there was
had
a
a
cue for you to break into song then, but yeah,
no, I don't want to do that to
we're
them.
not.
If they haven't turned off already after the masturbating section, they probably would definitely turn off after my
If
singing.
the roles were reversed, then I would have had a bit of Chinese karaoke sort of flashbacks, and then really just
Um,
leapt into.
what with all those your little groupies, those bunch of Chinese kids. So we're talking about a golf trip in China.
Hey, round eyes, keep
Yeah.
singing. They were whipping me and
Yeah.
turn it up,
What
sing another
song?
one.
Um, and so
Uh,
just
so
recognizing that you guys, that feels like the egos that have been just parked a little
yeah,
bit.
well, the egos go into contraction and separation and segregation. It's me versus you, and you're nowhere near your heart yet. We literally, I said this down. We had a heart to heart conversation afterwards. Like we had our blow up, and then went back to our respective corners and came back, later that night. And all right, you ready to? Everyone's calmed down. Everyone's sort of here. And it's funny the semantics. We had a heart to heart. We got back into our hearts and reconnected and sat and listened to each other and understood. And no one spoke over the other one. And we are curious and inquisitive. And
No one
okay,
was trying
yeah,
to
I'm
win.
learning. And hey,
No
yeah,
one was
there's
trying to
no
win.
winning. Yeah, no. And
That's awesome.
it was constructive. And it was like, well, okay, what can we put in place to move forward? And neither of us are perfect. The relationship's not perfect, but we can continue to try and reduce the messiness, the amount the egos are involved.
Yeah, yeah, that resonates. I had the other, it's like last week or the week before, I spoke about the sickness going through his family at the minute. I'm not the most compassionate when people are sick just by my nature, but the other week I had like I know stuff on or whatever, and Melissa got up and she was not well. She was, oh, I've been up all night, I'm sick, and I completely unconsciously just went, oh, I'm like fully rolled my eyes and just walked off. And then she like went off to her room and messaged me and goes, that really hurt. You just like rolled your eyes at me. And then I went in and I'm like, did I do that? I'm like, so sorry. And then we had to like reconnect. So it
Like
can
heart
creep
and heart,
in,
heart
can't
and
it?
heart, would you?
Even us who talk about the ego all the time, we're telling clients and educate them, we still just fall into the trap, more easily than we'd like to probably
If
admit.
you want to see it in all its magnificent glory, come and play golf and watch Ryan snap clubs and
Yeah, yeah.
have a few adult tantrums.
Sometimes I get on a call. We had one this week with a rehab that just started in Melbourne. And we get on there and they're like, oh my God, like me and Matt, like, we've done all your calls, blah, blah, blah. We're a little bit starstruck. I go, please don't be impressed by me. I'm like, come and play golf with me or something, but please
I
take me
had
down
that
off
as
this.
well. I had someone, a couple of clients get in touch and like, it feels like I already know you. Oh yeah, I'm starstruck was the words they use as well. And, and from our perspective, that's just so far left field, like whatever. But you hear someone's put you on this pedestal, and I'm the same. I'm very quick to go get me off that fucking pedestal
Take me down.
because come home and hang out and speak to Em, and you'll
Me?
yes, no.
Get him to call me. Get him to call me if you ever have that
What
again.
are you gonna say? What are you gonna give him to work with?
Oh, I got plenty, mate. I got plenty up
Oh
my
yeah,
sleeve. Don't
right.
you worry about that.
Can we call this episode the spiritual wank or something? The
What's it called? What the spiritual what?
wank, or
All
the
right.
spiritual enlightenment through masturbation or something.
I was just going to call it waking into a sock.
Burping the worm, shaking
Imagine
up a meat
that.
martini.
Economy, how to enlightenment in relationships, men's mental health,
Mm.
and wanking into a sock. It'd be such a pattern interrupt. That's what the episode was called.
Burp the
And
worm
it's not
until you're
clickbait.
enlightened.
Like it's not like, oh, that's a clickbait headline. Then you click on it. No, they're actually talking about
No,
wanking into
no,
a
no.
sock.
They went there. They went there, and the
We
the vat
only
is back. The vat of tears is back.
we only put someone on a pedestal because we see traits in them that we admire, and we can't see those traits in ourselves, even though we have it. So we've disowned those traits. So it's like, oh, look, they're confident, or they're clear in their speaking, or they're really intelligent, or whatever it is. They see that and go, wow, I can't ever be that, when that's not true. So we can start to
Mm.
take people off pedestals and out of pits when we start to own all the traits of being a human being and find out where we uniquely express that in our life.
We're all ignorant, incompetent, and mediocre to some degree, and that's okay.
I am to many degrees.
Yes, yeah, we all are. And
Don't
it
agree so completely and
well, we
sincerely.
all are. We ebb and flow up the spectrum. So some days we're tired or run down or overwhelmed, and we turn up very far from our best self. And then the next day we've slept well, we've eaten well, we've gone for a walk, we're connected, and we turn up and it's a breeze. So we're all fluctuating.
We are
Um,
fluctuating.
I heard this thing the other day. People can only meet you at the depth that they've met themselves. And I
Yes.
liked that. I
Yeah,
liked it.
no, that's a we
Um,
we talk about that in our courses, and then people go, oh, well, does that mean if I'm working with someone who's in addiction or speaking to someone, do I have to have been an addict myself? It's like, no, but you have to have met that part of you as a human being, and it may not have shown up as alcoholism or drug use, but we all have an addictive
mhm,
tendency inside of us, part of us
mhm.
that wants to
How
escape.
many
So when
how,
we've
how many coffees? When was the last day you were caffeine free? And right, yeah, okay, that's where mine is. Or
yeah,
that's we've all got a
scrolling,
little one.
all food, all of
When
that
was the
kind of
last time you
stuff.
didn't pick up a golf club? Couldn't remember
Yeah,
last
don't want to
time.
remember.
Day. No, it sounds horrible. I'm letting those impulses take
Sounds
full
like hell.
control. I saw that the other day. Speaking of addiction, the path to heaven, no, the path to heaven feels like hell, and the path to hell feels like heaven.
I'm gonna write that one
I
down.
I knew
Hang
you'd
on a
like that,
minute. Oh, I'm
and
frothing that one.
I thought you might have to pull a sock out later with that one.
Hang on.
The path to heaven
Imagine
feels
that.
like
Just,
hell.
just getting off on spiritual quotes. Are you watching porn again? You got like an Alan Watts fucking Instagram page up. I told you, ban you from Alan Watts page. Sorry, I can't
I'm
help
stuck in
it.
the dichotomy of
I'm
man.
sick of washing your socks.
He's just about to say equanimous. Shut up. Um,
You're like, you're having sex with your missus and just like talk in an English accent and say like Alan Watts quotes.
just to call you Ram Dass in bed.
Talk like him.
So the path to
Yeah, hang on,
heaven
hang on.
feels like
I'm writing a message to myself here. All right, so the path to heaven feels like hell,
feels
and the
like
path.
hell,
Okay.
but the hell feels like heaven. So in Myndfit, we've got constructive and destructive path, and the constructive one is the hard path, but then things become easier. So it's hard. It feels like hell. You've got to go to the gym and sweat it out. You've got to turn up every day and observe the ego getting involved. You've got to get into that space and observe those impulsive thoughts coursing in, and then not defy them, but set a boundary for yourself in that moment. It's challenging, but nothing worth having comes easy. So, and the
Oh,
alternative the path to hell is just a real slippery, easy ride where it's just saturated in dopamine and pleasure and
and ego
yeah,
and
yeah.
marinating and all that stuff. And then, yeah. Yeah. And then that's where, like a lot of people, the same with you, but people have come into me and they've gone down that path because it's a very easy path to slide down and days become weeks, become months, become years. And they're like, how am I in this place? How is my life this now? And it's because we didn't pay
Well,
attention.
yeah. And by the way, can you wave your magic wand and get me out of here within a week? It's
Yeah.
taken me 7 years to get here, and I'd like to. I'd like to be.
Fix me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I heard a video the other day, and the dude was really interesting. He said if we observed monkeys and one monkey was collecting all of the bananas and hoarding all the bananas, we would do a study and we'd really try and understand what's happening there. We'd deem that monkey to be, um, very dangerous for the rest of the species. But that's what we're doing.
Hey, this comes back to my dark oppressive system quote. You're agreeing with me now.
I'm fueling it,
You're
aren't
coming
I?
around. You're coming around.
I'm feeding it.
Yeah. All right. That'll
That's
do.
I got one more. Shut up. That'll do. You'll do. Should see how hard he's laughing at himself here.
That'll do. Not like, oh, we'll wrap it up after this next one. That'll do. No, no. What's the next one? Go on. You've been hitting me
I
with
was
so much
listening.
good stuff the last 10 minutes that I feel like I'm overwhelmed.
I was listening to Bob Dylan's "Knocking on Heaven's Door."
Right?
Funnily enough, it wasn't written by Guns N' Roses,
Yeah.
and it just really got me thinking. There's it's Suicide Prevention Day sometime this week, I think. Apparently, um, and so there's lots of "Are you okay?" and all that sort of stuff going on, and it just got me thinking. When someone's struggling physically, when someone's in enough physical pain, we have, euthanasia, and there's euthanasia clinics, and it's okay for someone to check out if they're in great physical pain, and that's sort of um, becoming more accepted, I suppose. But the same thing's happening psychologically. They're in that much psychological pain, but um, it's not okay for them to commit suicide, and it's such a touchy subject, and I'm very mindful of it. I'm not saying suicide is good, but I don't know. It's just our understanding of suicide, I think, really needs to change.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I guess so. From my point of view, whenever someone does commit suicide, I feel so deeply for the family and the people they love and all that kind of thing. But if I'm really honest as well, there's this feeling of the person who did, of this immense amount of suffering being over on that level. So I'm really conflicted when
But
it comes to
it's
this
so
topic.
selfish, I think, as well from the family and friends. They should have done better. They should have gotten help. They should have done this. It's just all this demanding, and ultimately that's all about them. It's like they're in great suffering because they've lost someone, but they're projecting this suffering onto the person who's been in the most suffering to
Mm.
such an extent that they've taken their own life. And I think we need to be very disciplined and diligent about moving away from that and not making it about us and how am I going to live without and why did they do this to me? There's so much judgment. That's what it is. There's so much judgment around suicide. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's either blaming them or then blaming ourselves that I could have done something more and all that. And I guess, yeah, I wonder, you just wouldn't be able to determine, I guess, as to, because we've seen so many people transform and go from a suicidal state to, all of a sudden living a great life. And so I
here's
guess,
another one.
yeah.
A tree can't grow to heaven without its roots going to hell.
Mhm. This is, you just gold nuggets quotes coming out of you at the minute. Just dishing them out. Um, it would be so hard to determine what somebody would come back from in terms of mental and emotional pain. Whereas I guess if someone is in a physical state where they're terminal and the doctors can say, well, this is only going to get worse and not get better, you could probably make a call at that point where it becomes humane. I don't know how you would make that call with mental and emotional health based on the diagnostic tools that we have.
I don't think it'd be possible either. But
But you know what? It's
yeah,
interesting to talk about, and people should be talking about it more because it's such a
well,
touchy subject that these conversations never happen.
that's why I wanted to end it on something as it's touchy in a different way to masturbation, but it's still a bit taboo. It's still a bit off limits.
Yep. I'm just sitting here normally as soon as we finish and jump off. I just so AJ knows the name, which is editing, like what to name the episode. And I've got so many fucking things rattling around in my head at the minute. I don't know where I'm going to go with what this episode's called.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Maybe just don't
Listeners, I
listen.
hope you're still there. Hope you're still with us. Hope you haven't unfollowed us. It's been an interesting episode, and we've covered a bit. So thank you for sticking with us, and I hope there's been some value in there for you. We've certainly enjoyed it,
I
and that's
reckon
what I,
Tay Ray is going to be trending on Google for the next week. I reckon that's what's going to come out of it.
I'm going to go and wipe. I'm going to do a full reset on my
Clear your
iPhone.
cookies. Clear your cookies.
I'm cleaning the whole phone. I'm just doing a full system factory reset. It's the only way forward.
It's crazy, man. Like the other day, an ad randomly popped up for a hats for like, it's like, do you have a really big head? And it was like hats for guys with a
Yeah,
big
I've seen
head.
it.
And my,
Yeah,
my best mate, Phil, like, we have always made fun of him having a big head. So I just sent it to him. Ha
yeah.
ha. The amount of fucking hat ads I've been getting the last few days is outrageous.
No,
I feel like
no.
I'm not the one with the big head. Leave me alone.
It's we've spoken about this before. The nutritional um component of we're talking doing the work in the environment, your phone and social media and all that, it's part of that environment. The nutritional value of social media is just so low. You can't even anymore. Like I think you used to be able to sort of pick and choose, and I didn't feel so bombarded. I could go into lots of golf stuff and four-wheel drives. That's pretty much my algorithm. And travel, but now it's just I can't. I don't know. There's like two ads in a row now, and there's just no escaping it.
It's like, yeah, it's like eating a packet of twisties. You know, it's nice in the
Love
moment.
twisties.
It's nice in the moment. Yeah, nice crunch, nice flavor, but you're not getting any nutritional value from it. And
What?
we started the episode talking about the porn thing. Because I use Instagram to send you and my mate stupid shit, which I enjoy. And I went on to, it must be how you search, like you click on the thing and search, and it has like just a grid of
Yeah,
suggested
yeah,
reels.
yeah,
Because I'm a
yeah.
guy, fucking hell,
I got Tits McGee
I
all
had
over mine.
20 sets of tits staring at me. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Melissa,
Mm-hmm.
look at this. Well, this is what it's like
Mm-hmm.
a guy on the fucking internet. It's like
Yep.
unbelievable. And I'm talking like pretty much just about pornography. Like I'm talking tits out, just jiggling away, like lots of sets of them, and it's
Yeah.
just good luck if you're 14, 15, 16 years old. Good fucking luck.
I would just burn my phone.
You'd
Just
you'd
get
be
away
burning
from it.
somewhere.
You burn my bra.
All right.
That'll do.
That'll Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you've taken
Go and
value out
be
of
go
this
go
episode.
go and look after your sick partner and be a bit of empathetic and
Oh,
compassionate towards it.
oh, all right. All right. See you, everyone.